Have you ever felt that the very people you love the most no longer show you the respect you deserve? I often found myself asking that question as I navigated a challenging chapter in my life, a chapter where I, a once respected pillar of wisdom and experience, began to feel increasingly overlooked and dismissed by my own children. My name is Harold, and for decades I prided myself on living a life full of purpose, passion, and care. I dedicated my youth to building a family grounded in love, tradition, and mutual respect. I was raised to believe that age would only bring wisdom and honor, that every wrinkle was a badge of experience, and every gray hair a testament to the battles won over time. Yet, as the years passed and I entered my late 60s, I started to notice a subtle, painful shift in the way my children interacted with me. It all began with small moments that, at first, seemed insignificant but gradually piled up like fragments of a shattered mirror. I remember a sunny afternoon when I decided to share a cup of tea with my daughter, Lisa. As I recounted stories of my childhood and the lessons learned from my own father, I was met not with the eager nods of attention I had once known, but with distracted glances at her phone. I felt a sting in my heart, as if the warmth of the tea had been replaced by a cold draft of neglect. Is it really possible, I wondered, that the values I spent my life nurturing are being eroded right before my eyes? This feeling of neglect was not isolated to just one conversation. Over time, my interactions with my children began to reflect an alarming pattern, a gradual distancing that left me questioning my self-worth. There were days when even a simple phone call would end abruptly, with curt responses that barely acknowledged my presence. I started to notice that my opinions, once valued and sought after, were now brushed aside in family gatherings. In place of the once familiar expressions of gratitude and love, there were hints of impatience, almost as if my age had become a burden rather than a treasure trove of wisdom. I recall an incident last winter when I visited my son's home. I had prepared a special homemade meal, one of those dishes that carried with it the aroma of my own childhood and the memories of festive family dinners. Excitedly, I presented the meal to him, hoping to relive a fragment of our shared history. Instead, he barely glanced at it, remarking offhand, "Dad, I already have dinner plans," without so much as a thank you. That moment was a turning point for me. It was when I realized that the deep-seated respect that once bonded our family was fraying at the edges. According to numerous studies in gerontology and psychology, social respect and active engagement play a crucial role in maintaining not only our mental health, but also our physical well-being as we age. Experts have long stressed that feeling valued can reduce stress, improve cognitive function, and even contribute to a healthier lifespan. Yet, here I was, a man who had dedicated his life to embodying these virtues, feeling as though I was rapidly being sidelined in the very family I had nurtured. My emotions oscillated between sadness, anger, and deep confusion. Why were the people who had once revered me now looking past me as if I were invisible? In those moments of solitude, I began reflecting on my own journey. I remembered the times when my children would gather around me, hanging on every word, their eyes shining with admiration. I remembered the long evenings filled with stories, laughter, and the warmth of shared experiences. The stark contrast between then and now was heart-wrenching. It wasn't that they didn't love me, far from it, but somewhere along the line, the respect that once flowed naturally had been replaced by indifference and, at times, outright dismissal. I started to question whether this transformation was a byproduct of the modern world's fast-paced nature or perhaps a deeper cultural shift. Could it be that the values of respect and care, which were once the cornerstone of family life, had been overshadowed by individualism and a relentless pursuit of personal success? In my search for answers, I dove into research and came across a myriad of studies suggesting that as generations evolve, the dynamics within families change too. Social media, technological distractions, and the rapid pace of life have all contributed to altering the fabric of our interpersonal relationships. These insights, while eye-opening, did little to soothe the ache in my heart. I knew that if I wanted to reclaim the respect I once enjoyed, I would have to embark on a journey not just of self-improvement, but of rediscovery. I needed to reconnect with the part of me that believed in the power of respect, empathy, and understanding. I began to immerse myself in literature about aging gracefully, of reclaiming one's dignity, and of the undeniable link between self-worth and health. I learned that respect is not something that can be demanded or expected. It is something that must be earned and continuously nurtured, both by ourselves and those around us. Every morning, I took a long, reflective walk in the park near my home. The crisp air, the gentle rustle of leaves, and the distant laughter of children playing reminded me that life, with all its complexities, still had moments of beauty waiting to be embraced. I started to keep a journal, noting down my thoughts and feelings, the times I felt diminished and the moments when a small act of kindness reignited my hope. Slowly, I began to see patterns emerging. Moments of neglect often gave way to unexpected acts of care from strangers, neighbors, or even old friends. These fleeting encounters reminded me that respect and recognition were still alive in the world. Perhaps it was just time to rediscover how to receive them. The turning point came during one of those solitary walks when I encountered a group of elderly individuals gathered for a community fitness session. They moved with a vigor and camaraderie that belied their years. As I watched them laugh and support one another, I was struck by a profound realization. The foundation of respect starts within oneself. I realized that if I could reignite the spark of self-respect within, perhaps I could influence others to see me in a new light. In that moment, the idea of regaining respect transformed from a desperate wish into a tangible goal, a goal I was determined to pursue through a series of powerful, practical steps. I began to research strategies and techniques that could help me rebuild my self-worth and, by extension, earn back the respect of those around me. From mindfulness and meditation to engaging in community service and physical exercise, I discovered that there were indeed many ways to fortify one's mind and body against the corrosive effects of neglect. In every article I read and every study I examined, a common thread emerged: the importance of being proactive about one's health, both physical and mental, and the critical role this plays in commanding respect. But even as I armed myself with knowledge and embarked on this path of self-improvement, I couldn't shake off the lingering sadness of feeling unwanted by those I held dear. Every dismissive remark, every hurried goodbye, served as a reminder of what had been lost. Yet, in the depths of that sorrow, I found a renewed determination. I promised myself that I would not let the current state of affairs define me. I was more than just a relic of the past, more than just an aging figure in the background of my children's lives. I was a man with a lifetime of experiences, wisdom, and love to offer, and I was determined to ensure that this legacy would not be forgotten. As I sat down one evening, penning these reflections in my journal, I asked myself one of the most pressing questions: what can I do to change this narrative? That question became the spark that lit the fuse for what would become a transformative journey, a journey where I would experiment with different ways to reclaim not only the respect of my children, but also the intrinsic respect I owed to myself. I resolved to explore 6 powerful ways that promised to restore the honor and dignity that seemed to be slipping away. These were not mere platitudes. They were grounded in both anecdotal evidence and scientific research, and I was ready to test each one in the crucible of real life. Now, as I share this part of my story with you, I invite you to pause and reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever felt diminished by the actions or words of those closest to you? How did that make you feel? And what steps did you take to reclaim your sense of self-worth? Your thoughts and experiences are incredibly valuable not only to me, but to all those who are on similar journeys. Let this be a space where we learn from each other and find strength in our shared human experience. In the coming days, I will detail each of the 6 powerful ways I set out to regain respect, blending personal trials with practical strategies and scientific insights that can help anyone facing similar challenges. For now, Let this first chapter stand as a testament to the courage it takes to acknowledge our pain and the resilience required to face it head-on. The road ahead might seem daunting, and there will undoubtedly be moments of doubt and setbacks. But remember, every step taken in the pursuit of self-respect is a victory in itself. Even when those we love seem to overlook our worth, we have the power to redefine how we view ourselves and, by extension, how others see us. My journey is just beginning, and I am ready to reclaim the dignity and respect that I know deep within me is rightfully mine. So, dear friend, as you listen to my story, I encourage you to stay tuned and join me in this exploration of self-healing and empowerment. Together, we will delve into the heart of what it means to be respected, to be valued, and to stand tall in the face of life's challenges. Let this be the first step on a path that leads not only to renewed respect from others, but also to a deeper, more profound respect for yourself. As I embarked on the journey to reclaim my dignity, I knew that change wouldn't come overnight. The painful moments of neglect had pushed me to a crossroads, and I resolved to transform that despair into action. Determined to regain not just the respect of my family, but also the deep, intrinsic self-respect I once knew, I sought out 6 powerful ways that could breathe new life into my existence. These methods weren't abstract theories, they were practical strategies supported by science and real-life experiences. And as I share them with you now, I invite you to join me in this exploration if you're still with me. Drop a 2 in the comments below to let me know you're part of this journey. 1. Reestablish personal boundaries. One of the first steps on my path was learning to set clear personal boundaries. Over the years, I had lost sight of what was acceptable and what wasn't, often bending over backwards to accommodate others, even at the cost of my own well-being. I realized that the lack of respect began when I allowed my needs and opinions to be brushed aside. I started by having honest conversations with my family. I explained that respect isn't a privilege that can be taken for granted, it's a mutual exchange. I outlined simple, yet firm guidelines. For instance, I requested that conversations be free from constant distractions like smartphones, that my opinions be acknowledged, and that time spent together should be quality time. Research in family dynamics and psychology underscores that setting boundaries not only improves interpersonal relationships, but also boosts self-esteem. According to a study published in the Journal of Family Psychology, clear communication of personal limits can significantly reduce stress and enhance mutual respect among family members. Embracing these insights, I set out to reintroduce boundaries in my everyday interactions. I vividly recall a moment during a family dinner when, instead of silently enduring a dismissive comment, I calmly reiterated my perspective. The atmosphere, initially tense, gradually shifted into a dialogue that allowed for mutual understanding. It wasn't an immediate fix, but it was the first step toward reclaiming the respect that had been slowly slipping away. 2. Embrace physical and mental health. I soon discovered that regaining respect wasn't just about changing how others treated me, it was also about honoring myself. I began to focus on my physical and mental health as the cornerstone of my transformation. I adopted a daily routine that included light exercises, meditation, and even short walks that allowed me to reconnect with nature. The benefits were almost immediate. As I strengthened my body through regular physical activity, I also found a renewed sense of clarity and purpose through meditation. Multiple scientific studies have confirmed that exercise and mindfulness practices can improve cognitive function, reduce stress levels, and even elevate mood. For example, research from Harvard Medical School has shown that regular physical activity is linked to improved brain health, while mindfulness meditation has been found to reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. Emboldened by these results, I made a commitment to treat my body as a temple. I started joining local fitness groups and even participated in community yoga sessions. The boost in energy was palpable. Not only did I feel physically stronger, but I also radiated a newfound confidence that others began to notice. This shift was a key factor in how I began to assert myself, both within the family and in my broader social circles. 3. Cultivate lifelong learning and mentorship. Another powerful tool in my journey was the pursuit of lifelong learning and the desire to mentor others. I had spent a lifetime accumulating wisdom and experiences, yet I had long since stopped sharing these treasures with the younger generation. I decided to reverse that trend by becoming a mentor in my local community. I enrolled in courses on modern technology, read extensively about the latest developments in my fields of interest, and even attended workshops at a nearby community center. This not only kept my mind active, but also allowed me to bridge the gap between generations. When I began sharing what I had learned with others, especially with younger people, I noticed a spark in their eyes. They were curious, engaged, and respectful. Mentorship, as research in educational psychology suggests, benefits both the mentor and the mentee. It creates an environment where wisdom is passed on and respect is mutual. By taking on this role, I was not only reclaiming my sense of purpose, but also inspiring respect from those around me. I organized small discussion groups where I could share stories of past triumphs and failures, and these sessions soon became a cherished part of my week. And again, I turn to you, my friends. If you're learning something new or mentoring someone in your community, I'd love to hear about your experiences. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's create a dialogue that uplifts and motivates us all. 4. Engage in community service. The power of giving back cannot be underestimated. I learned that by contributing to my community, I could reestablish a sense of worth and purpose that had been eroded by years of neglect. I began volunteering at a local community center, helping to organize events for senior citizens and offering support to those in need. Community service allowed me to connect with people outside of my immediate family. I met others who, like me, had faced similar challenges and were seeking ways to reclaim their dignity. These interactions were deeply healing. I discovered that the respect I longed for was not confined to my family alone. It was a universal value that could be nurtured in broader social connections. Studies in social psychology have shown that volunteering has a significant impact on mental health and overall life satisfaction. Engaging in acts of service not only reduces feelings of isolation, but also enhances self-worth. As I contributed my time and energy to meaningful causes, I felt an internal transformation. I was no longer defined by the dismissive attitudes of a few. Instead, I became an integral part of a community that valued compassion and mutual support. 5. Foster open communication and empathy. Restoring respect also required a fundamental change in how I communicated not only with my family, but also with myself. I learned that open, empathetic communication could serve as a bridge to understanding and reconciliation. I started by practicing active listening, striving to understand the perspectives of my children even when their words stung. One afternoon, after a particularly frustrating encounter where my opinions were brushed off, I initiated a heartfelt conversation with my eldest daughter. I shared my feelings honestly, without anger, explaining that I longed for a connection that went beyond routine interactions. To my surprise, she listened. The conversation was raw and emotional, filled with moments of silence and unspoken understanding. It was in that moment that I realized empathy isn't just about validating someone else's feelings, it's also about validating your own. Scientific research supports the notion that empathy can transform interpersonal relationships. Studies have indicated that when people feel heard and understood, they are more likely to respond with respect and consideration. By adopting a more empathetic approach, I began to break down the walls of indifference that had built up over the years. I learned to ask questions like, "How are you really feeling? And what can I do to support you?" These simple inquiries opened the door to deeper conversations that gradually mended the gaps between us. 6. Rediscover your own identity. Finally, the journey culminated in the rediscovery of my own identity. For too long, I had allowed the perceptions and expectations of others to define me. I realized that in order to command respect, I first needed to honor who I truly was. I began to explore hobbies and interests that had once brought me joy: painting, writing, even experimenting with new recipes in the kitchen. I reconnected with old friends who reminded me of the man I used to be, a man of passion, creativity, and integrity. I started a blog where I chronicled my journey, sharing both the struggles and the small victories along the way. This not only provided me with an outlet for self-expression, but also created a community of readers who resonated with my story. Their supportive messages and shared experiences further reinforced my belief that self-respect is the foundation upon which all other forms of respect are built. At this juncture, I'd like to pause and ask you something important. If you've ever taken the time to rediscover a part of yourself that was lost in the chaos of daily life, please share your story in the comments. What passions have you rekindled? How did they change your outlook? Your insights can inspire others who might be on a similar path. Bringing it all together, each of these 6 strategies: setting personal boundaries, embracing physical and mental health, cultivating lifelong learning and mentorship, engaging in community service, fostering open communication and empathy, and rediscovering your own identity, served as a stepping stone on my path to reclaiming respect. There were moments of triumph, as well as setbacks, but every challenge taught me a valuable lesson about the power of persistence and self-care. I must admit, there were days when the old feelings of loneliness and neglect resurfaced. Moments when the echoes of past dismissals made me question whether the journey was worth it. But in those moments, I would remind myself of the research, the personal growth, and the genuine connections I had forged along the way. Slowly, I began to see changes not only in how my family treated me, but in how I viewed myself. I realized that respect isn't something that can be demanded, it's something that is earned, nurtured, and ultimately reflected back to you through the way you live your life. As I continued to practice these strategies, I noticed a gradual transformation. My conversations with my children began to shift. The curt responses gave way to more thoughtful exchanges. Family gatherings, once marred by tension and indifference, began to foster genuine dialogue and laughter. I was no longer the sidelined elder, but a valued member of the family, a mentor, and a friend. And now, I invite you once again to be an active part of this journey. If you're finding value in these insights, if you're inspired to take even a small step toward reclaiming your self-respect, please let me know in the comments below. Share your thoughts, your struggles, and your victories. Remember, every story matters, and every shared experience has the power to uplift someone else. Before moving forward, I want you to reflect on this. What is one step you can take today to set a boundary that honors your worth? Whether it's a conversation you've been postponing or a small act of self-care, your actions matter. Comment below with your thoughts or the number 2 if you're with me on this transformative journey. As I look back on these past months, I realize that the journey to regain respect is as much about external validation as it is about internal healing. By taking charge of my own well-being, I discovered that respect starts from within and that the power to change my reality was always in my hands. Each strategy became a part of my daily ritual, a reminder that I was more than the sum of others' neglect, that I was a man with a story worth telling and a life worth living. With every boundary set, every workout completed, every lesson shared, every community event attended, every empathetic conversation had, and every creative pursuit embraced, I found pieces of my old self returning. These weren't just isolated victories, they were interconnected moments that reshaped my entire identity. And slowly but surely, I felt the scales of respect begin to tip in my favor once again. So here I am, standing at the precipice of a new chapter, armed with knowledge, experience, and a deep-seated belief in my own worth. I know the road ahead still holds challenges, but I'm no longer afraid of them. I'm ready to face them with an open heart, a resilient spirit, and the unwavering conviction that true respect starts with self-love. Thank you for joining me through this pivotal phase of my journey. I look forward to sharing even more insights and the next steps in my transformation in the final part of this story. Until then, stay engaged, stay inspired, and remember, your journey to reclaiming respect begins with the courage to value yourself. As the days melted into months, I began to notice an undeniable transformation not just in how others treated me, but in the way I perceived myself. I had spent so long feeling invisible and dismissed that the newfound acknowledgement from my family and community felt almost surreal. Every morning, as I greeted the sun with a calm determination and a heart open to possibility, I realized that my journey toward reclaiming respect was not merely about the approval of others. It was about honoring the quiet strength within me, the wisdom forged over decades of living, and the unique story that only I could tell. The turning point came unexpectedly one crisp autumn afternoon. I had been invited to a family reunion, a gathering that, in the past, had been punctuated by polite small talk and hasty departures. This time, however, the atmosphere was different. There was an air of genuine warmth and attentiveness as my children, once so preoccupied with their own worlds, began engaging with me in meaningful conversations. I remember my eldest, Rachel, sitting close by, her eyes reflecting a sincerity that melted away years of misunderstanding. "Dad," she said softly, "I've been thinking a lot about everything you've shared with us. I never realized how much you've been through." That simple moment, a heartfelt admission, was like a balm to my wounded spirit. I realized that the seeds I had planted by setting clear boundaries, embracing both physical and mental well-being, and venturing into new realms of learning were beginning to bear fruit. The respect I sought was gradually being restored, not through force or demand, but through the gentle, persistent assertion of my true self. It was a reminder that respect, once earned, can become a natural part of our interactions when we nurture our own sense of worth. In the weeks that followed, the changes were evident in every corner of my life. Family dinners became opportunities for genuine dialogue rather than perfunctory gatherings. My children started to ask about my day, my experiences, and even the little lessons I'd picked up along the way. It wasn't just that they were listening, they were actively engaging, laughing, and sometimes even debating ideas with me as though I were their equal partner in the conversation. I could see the shift and evolution in our relationship that brought us closer together, fueled by mutual respect and an appreciation for our diverse life experiences. The impact of these transformations wasn't confined solely to my family. At the community center where I volunteered, I began to be seen not as a relic of a bygone era, but as a valuable mentor and friend. The weekly discussions, which had once been quiet sessions of polite conversation, turned into vibrant exchanges of ideas and stories. Younger participants, inspired by my willingness to share both my victories and my vulnerabilities, started to open up about their own challenges. They would lean in, eager to understand how someone who had faced life's many hurdles managed to emerge stronger on the other side. In these moments, I realized that the respect I had fought so hard to reclaim was, in fact, a mirror reflecting the respect I had long owed myself. My journey also took me into quieter, introspective spaces. I dedicated time each evening to sit with my thoughts, often reflecting by a softly glowing lamp and the comforting hum of the night. I revisited my journal, the one that had witnessed my moments of despair and the first sparks of hope. In its pages, I saw not just the scars of neglect, but also the careful notes of progress. The day I set a boundary that made all the difference, the moment I smiled genuinely at a compliment, the time when I felt truly heard. It was in those reflective pauses that I understood the profound truth. True respect must begin from within. When I treated myself with kindness, when I recognized my own worth, I became a beacon that naturally attracted respect from those around me. There were still days when the old pain would creep in unexpectedly, a careless comment or a dismissive glance that momentarily dragged me back into feelings of inadequacy. But now, armed with the tools and insights I had gathered on my journey, I knew how to face these setbacks. Instead of sinking into self-doubt, I would pause, take a deep breath, and remind myself of the progress I had made. I would recall the scientific studies that highlighted the benefits of self-compassion, the stories shared by others in my support group, and the tangible improvements in my physical health brought on by regular exercise and mindful living. These memories acted as a counterbalance to any negativity, reaffirming that every setback was merely a stepping stone toward an even stronger sense of self. One particularly poignant memory stands out. A few months into my transformation, my daughter Emma reached out to me after a particularly tense family argument. Instead of the usual distance, she invited me for a quiet walk in the park. As we strolled beneath the golden canopy of falling leaves, she expressed her regret for not truly understanding me before. "Dad," she said, her voice trembling with sincerity, "I'm sorry for not seeing all that you are. I want to learn more about you, about us." That conversation was healing not only for me, but for the entire family. It symbolized a bridge being rebuilt, a bridge crafted through understanding, dialogue, and the willingness to see each other's true selves. In that moment, I knew that the journey was far from over, but the destination was now visible, a future where love and respect flowed freely, unburdened by past misunderstandings. The metamorphosis in my life was not a solitary triumph, but a shared victory. In every nod of appreciation, in every smile exchanged during our weekly community meet UPS, I felt the reverberation of my own worth. I realized that respect is not an external commodity to be extracted from others, it's a living, breathing force that grows when we nurture our minds, bodies, and souls. My renewed sense of identity had a ripple effect. It transformed not only my personal interactions, but also the broader way in which I engaged with the world. I began to see parallels in research that validated my experience. Studies in social psychology and gerontology consistently reveal that individuals who maintain a robust sense of self-worth and engage in proactive self-care enjoy richer, more fulfilling relationships. They experience lower stress levels, heightened cognitive function, and an overall better quality of life. These insights resonated deeply with me because they mirrored my lived reality. I had become a testament to the idea that reclaiming respect is an inside job, a continuous, evolving journey that begins with self-acceptance and blossoms through active engagement with life. As I stand here today, looking back on the long road I've traveled, I feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the lessons learned through adversity, for the supportive arms of family and friends who rediscovered me, and for the community that embraced me with open hearts. The journey taught me that while the world may sometimes fail to recognize our intrinsic worth, the power to redefine ourselves always lies within us. Every boundary set, every moment of self-care, every act of genuine communication contributed to a larger tapestry of transformation, a tapestry woven with threads of resilience, love, and unyielding determination. And so, my story comes full circle. I am no longer the man who silently endured dismissive remarks and felt the sting of neglect. I am a man who has rediscovered his identity, who stands tall with the knowledge that true respect is cultivated from within and nurtured through every interaction we share. The relationship with my children, once marred by indifference, has evolved into one marked by warmth, open dialogue, and mutual admiration. We now share not just family ties, but a deeper connection built on understanding and shared growth. Before I close this chapter, I'd like to extend a heartfelt invitation to you, my dear friend. If my journey has stirred something within you, if you've ever felt the pain of being overlooked or the longing for genuine respect, I encourage you to share your story. Tell me about a time when you rediscovered your own worth, or let me know what small step you plan to take today to honor yourself. Your experiences matter, and by sharing them, you can spark hope in someone else who might be navigating similar struggles. Your comment might be the first spark that ignites another's journey towards self-respect. In sharing these final reflections, I want you to know that my journey is a living, breathing reminder that every day is a chance to start anew. The path to reclaiming respect is not linear. There are setbacks, moments of doubt, and challenges that test our resolve. But with each obstacle overcome, we come closer to a life where we are seen, heard, and valued for who we truly are. I am living proof that no matter how many times we feel diminished, the human spirit holds an incredible capacity to rise, to heal, and to flourish. Today, as I watch my children engage with me, listen intently to my stories, and offer their insights, I am reminded that respect is the foundation upon which we build all meaningful relationships. It is a gentle force that, when nurtured with kindness, empathy, and self-love, can transform not just our lives, but the lives of everyone around us. The journey may have been long and fraught with heartache, but every step led me to this moment of rebirth, a moment where I can proudly say that I am whole again. Thank you for accompanying me on this transformative journey. I hope that my story has touched your heart, encouraged you to value your own unique journey, and inspired you to take that brave first step toward reclaiming your self-worth. Remember, every effort you make to honor yourself reverberates in ways you may never fully realize. Share your thoughts, your struggles, and your triumphs in the comments below. Let's continue to inspire and support one another as we all move forward in the pursuit of a life filled with dignity, respect, and unyielding self-love. Here's to new beginnings, deeper connections, and the unwavering belief that true respect always starts from within.